Welcome to the Mami Collective. I'm Paulina Rowe, radio host, TV contributor, writer, and mom of one. This is where ambitious moms come to keep their identity intact while navigating motherhood. Here we talk about the real stuff: career, money, relationships, identity, and everything that gets messy in between. You won't find sugarcoating or cliches. What you will find are unfiltered conversations, real resources, and proof that you don't have to lose yourself to be a good mom. The Mami Collective is here to remind you can be ambitious, you can take up space, and you can thrive in motherhood and in everything else that makes you, you. Before we get into the episode, make sure you're following the Mami Collective on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and share this podcast with a mommy in your life who needs a little inspiration, or just a reminder that she's killing it. Also, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and leave us a review so we can keep showing up and reach every ambitious mom out there doing big things. Let's get into it. I am talking to my girl, Kera Sanchez from Get Griefy. Did I say it right?
Yep, Get Griefy.
Get Griefy, baby. Kera, you and I have been trying to connect since we were infants. Like, that's what it feels like.
Literally, it's been a minute, but we did it, and I'm really proud of us. And so it's been a journey, but it's worth the wait for sure.
Same. Oh, I'm so excited that you're here, and it has been a journey, but I'm very grateful for you. So first and foremost, do you mind kind of telling us a little bit about yourself? I want to dive into everything like Griefy, of course, and you and your motherhood journey, I think is so fascinating, but tell us a little bit about yourself if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I'm kind of a jack of all trades at this point. I was a high school Spanish teacher for about 13 years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, girl. But then 2 years ago, this is my second year in this role. I'm a dean of students now. So I'm literally herding cats all day long. It's a wild ride. But in addition to that, I'm also a military spouse. My husband is currently and has been away for just about a year now. So, the solo parenting journey is not for the weak. So that's been a thing. And I do have two little ones. I have a 5-year-old. She just turned 5 last week, and a 3-year-old. Yeah.
A 5 and a 3-year-old. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're doing it, but you are.
Yeah, here we are. So yeah, that's just, I guess like the meat and potatoes of who I am. And then obviously the grief came later in life.
So. And I'm going to dive into that as well. But yeah, no, you definitely have your hands full. That is for sure. So when it comes to being a military spouse, I'm curious, do you have to relocate wherever your husband's going or no?
Yeah. So right now, what they call it is like geo-batching. He has been in a lot of different schoolhouses, like all across the country. And so essentially what happens is every, 8 to 16 weeks, he goes somewhere else. So he was like in Pensacola, and he was in Maryland. And so it wasn't worth it for our entire family to like uproot our situation and move our kids' school and all of that stuff. So we just stayed put here where we were. And now that he's finishing up all of his school, actually today is his last day of class, we're going to be moving. Wow. Yeah, we're moving.
From where to where? So
we are moving to Maryland. The process is tricky. Everyone's like, so when are you moving? I'm like, that's a good question. I don't know.
I'm sure.
It's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of moving parts, but sometime early 2026.
2026?
So, yeah.
Love it. Well, congrats. Yeah. I don't know if you're excited about that or you're more like dreading it. Maybe both.
It's a mixed emotion. I grew up in this area, and Chicago is definitely home for me, but I'm also ready for a change and new perspectives. And I've just learned that the internet makes the world a much smaller place. So I'm down for it. I'm ready. I'm ready for a challenge.
Oh yeah. Now I have a new friend in Maryland. So I love that for me.
Yeah.
I love it. So Kera, I kind of want you to talk about Get Griefy, right? And I think it's so important, and it's a whole conversation that we're about to dive into, but I think it's so important to kind of see a different side of parenting, right? So I've never really had anybody in the podcast that has experienced certain loss the way that you have, and I know that you're so open about it, so I appreciate your vulnerability, and I really love that you are open, because I do think you're going to help a lot of moms today, a lot of moms, maybe even just, it really could be anyone, dads, it could be, you're going to help a lot of people, I think, with your message today. But tell us what Get Griefy is and sort of where that came to be, right? How did that form?
Sure.
Because you have a magazine and online platform, right? Or is it a book now?
So it is a combination of things. It started as a magazine. And the premise of the magazine is helping people through their grief finding joy in life again after a traumatic loss. And that's basically what happened to me. My mom unexpectedly died while she was on vacation in Italy. She was 57 years old, and I was in the NICU with my youngest daughter. My daughter was born a full month early, and it was during COVID. And because I was COVID positive, they wouldn't let my husband in the hospital because he was also COVID positive. So my mom was actually there for the birth of my daughter. And the next day, my husband tested negative, and they're like, oh, he can come up now. And it was like literally a changing of the guards moment. My husband came in, my mom left, and I'm like, all right, bye, Mom. Have fun on your trip. I'll see you when you get back. Be ready to babysit, right? And when I finally get to the chance to hold my baby for the first time, because she was in isolation for 5 days, when I finally got the chance to hold her, I got a voicemail from my dad saying, call me back. And I knew something was wrong. I could just tell in his voice that something was not right. And I call back and I find out that my mom had just unexpectedly died. Like, she was not feeling well. She asked for an ambulance, and by the time it got there, it was too late. And it was just like, it was the worst. I will just say that. Like, it was one of those moments that you have forever ingrained in your brain where time stands still and you just remember everything so vividly. And for me, obviously, it was such a strange juxtaposition of two emotions, like the joy I had with my new daughter of what I just experienced of like, oh my gosh, I'm finally able to hold my baby now. And then boom, I'm never going to see my mom again. So, it was a journey, to say the least, trying to plan a funeral for my mom who was overseas, trying to get her body home, the whole kit and caboodle, while literally trying to do this from the NICU with my daughter. So that grief really consumed me for, I don't know, 6 months of my life. And I was on maternity leave at the time. So it was just easy to ruminate on it quite a bit and just think about all of the things that we didn't get to do, the conversations we didn't get to have. And it slowly but surely turned into, for me, needing to keep my hands busy. And so I dived into being super creative and connecting with other people online. I felt like that was very important for me to see myself and other people who had experienced a similar loss. And I myself started to kind of document my grief journey online. And from there, an idea just struck me that this is way more common than people kind of make it out to be, yet we're not talking about it, and it's not an approachable topic. Most people shy away from it. So I was like, why don't we start a magazine all about what it is to live life after loss and have these honest conversations of what living with loss looks like, and also give people hope and inspiration that one day, although maybe in the current moment while they're in the trenches, it's like, feels like their life is never going to move forward or get better, eventually it will. And I kind of consider the magazine almost like a beacon of hope for people that, although they're seriously experiencing a shit sandwich at the moment, eventually it's going to get better and they're going to find things that give them purpose again. And so that's kind of the whole goal of the magazine.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I don't even know what to say. I am so sorry for what you experienced, because that is, for so many reasons, I think that is so, it's hard because, like you said, you are diving into this new era of your life. You were a new mom, right? That was your first child, your daughter?
It was my second child.
It was your second child? So you're going through this giving birth process. You're having a child. You're in the NICU. There's already so much going on and your brain is already consumed. Plus you have another little one at home. And then this unexpected death happens, right? This situation that I think no one predicted. And like you said, you're like, bye, Mom, have a good time. I'll see you when you get back. I feel like that is the ultimate, I don't even know what to call it. Like one of those moments where you're just like, what the fuck is life right now?
Yeah, truly. That was me. And I was like, how do I get past this? I kept equating it to a video game. Like, can I just hit the restart button? Like, who wants to live the rest of their life like this? This is messed up, right? And it didn't feel right to me that that was the end of our story, right? And so in a weird way, I do feel like this is something that her and I are doing together. And I don't know how to describe it other than the fact that I get little nudges from her, and there's always little synchronicities and things like that that happen. And I'm just like, heck yeah, like she's here with me. She's cheering me on. And truly, like, my mom was 10 times the person that I was in terms of personality. She was like bananas, and she had so much life, so much vibrancy in her. And she also had experienced a very parallel loss to me. My grandpa, her dad, he died when I was like 6 months old. So it's wild to me that like we kind of have the same life trajectory, yet growing up, her and I never really discussed that. I think I remember her talking about my grandpa like once or twice, and her maybe getting emotional like one time. And it was like kind of that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel like this is our opportunity now to kind of break that cycle. And it's like, no, I can talk to my daughters about their grandma, and I can talk to everyone about my mom, right? It doesn't have to be something that once someone dies that they're kind of out of your life, because that's not how it works, you know?
Absolutely. I don't think it does. It doesn't end just because it ends, you know? And I think that's something really interesting about grief. It's like, I'm sure for you, and I would love to hear from your perspective. They say there are stages to grief, right? Do you feel like that's true, but also do you feel like that's been valid in your experience, especially as a parent?
So like all of those stages that everyone I think initially thinks of, those stages were actually created for people that are navigating a terminal illness. And so while those stages are still very much valid and I think still related to grief, our society likes to think of them as like almost check in the boxes, like, oh, like this is the logical order in which someone's going to feel this X, Y, and Z, right? And it just doesn't work like that. I feel like it could be any of those stages in any given day. And you could feel one day that you're making a ton of progress and you're like, wow, like I smiled a lot today. Like I experienced so much joy today. And then all it takes is either a memory on Facebook or a song on the radio, and it brings you kind of back to a different spot, right? And so for me, I feel like those stages, they do exist, but it's totally at random. Like it's like hitting like a shuffle on your iPod, right? And it just, you never know what the day is going to bring. And I've come to realize as well that if you process your grief in a healthy way, there's additional stages, and there's like this making meaning stage. And that's where I feel like I'm in, like I'm making meaning from my grief, and I'm finding a newfound purpose from my grief. And I feel like that's the stage that we often don't talk about at all, because maybe it's stigmatized. People are like, oh, wow, like you're making your life better because someone died. And it's like, it's not really like that, right? It's about finding ways to incorporate and carry their legacy forward. And I think that that's the important piece that a lot of times people are quick to overlook or not realize how important it is to the healing journey.
Absolutely. How are you keeping your mom's legacy alive for your children? Your babies are young. They were very young when your mom passed away. Who is their grandma? You know, that is their grandmother. How are you keeping her story alive, her name alive? How are you doing that? You know, so other moms out there listening, or anyone listening, can do the same if that's something, you know, that they're also living through.
Yeah, I feel like just like little traditions and things like that I used to do with my mom, that's something that I'm trying to also do with my daughters. I remember growing up, we would always do like Christmas tea, right, at one of the fancy hotels in Chicago. And like last Christmas, we did that with all of my mom's friends and my daughters. And it was just like so beautiful, right? And I just feel like even in the everyday simple things like, oh, your grandma Laura loves this song, or it's actually quite cute. Like I've kind of convinced my daughters to believe in like the little signs and things like that too. And my brother, who got married about 2 weeks ago, there was a ladybug like crawling around on the floor, and all of the flower girls, my two daughters and my sister-in-law's niece, were like, oh, there's a ladybug. And my oldest goes, that's my grandma. Right. And so like, it was just like so stinking cute. Thinking about how the fact that like, it doesn't even faze them. Like they just know that like inherently she's around, I guess. Right. And so just little things like that, I think, can help.
I think so too. do you, because you've mentioned, and it sounds like you are a little woo-woo like me. I'm a
Oh
little
yeah.
woo-woo girly. Okay, good, thank God. I'm like, are we on the same page? It does, and I like diving into this. I think it's very interesting, and personally, it makes me feel good and connected to those who have passed when it happens to me. But you've mentioned that you get, little nudges from your mom, that you get these synchronicities, you get these moments. Have your kids ever told you anything about seeing her, talking to her?
No, not really. I mean, I feel like that's like the biggest one was like my daughter bringing up the ladybug thing. Sometimes like they'll see a rainbow in the sky and they're like, "Oh, there's grandma." But like, yeah, nothing like
Oh.
that. No.
Hey, you
Yeah.
never know. There
You
might
never
be.
know. You never
There's a
know.
funny story. So my best friend, he lost his father, and he has nieces and nephews, and his thing, I guess, was like coins, was like giving people coins and like whatever. So I guess like Sophie's his niece. Sophie was like 3 or 4, and she had coins out of nowhere. And they're like, "Where'd you get that?" And she's like, "Grandpa gave it to me." And like I was bawling my eyes out from that, because I know that children are just so in tune with the other side, and just like, you know what I mean, just anything like woo woo to me with kids, like I believe it instantly, because I'm like, they're the purest thing that there is to whatever's out there, heaven, right, the universe, whatever it might be, right, source, like they're the closest thing to it. So I was like bawling, and I was like, it's not even my family, but I was just like, oh my God, that's crazy. And I'm like, she absolutely got it from you. She wouldn't know that. Let's just be real. She wouldn't know that. Like,
Right.
if she found coins, like she's little, she wouldn't think this is grandpa. So I don't know what was said, or I don't know what happened, but something did. So I don't know. I was thinking it's like so interesting, and you got to keep me posted though if your kids ever do, if there's ever any moment.
Yeah. I mean, there was one, actually, now that I think about it, there was one time, it was right after my mom passed, and my oldest was maybe like just under 2 years at the time. Um, there was a teddy bear that my mom had given my daughter, and it was like a replica of a teddy bear that I had from when I was a little girl. It's actually a polar bear. And she
Cute.
never really like showed much interest in it, but the week after my mom died, like she was carrying that thing around like everywhere she went. And it was like, oh, like that's kind of weird. She never really played with that before. And like she was just bringing it around with her everywhere. And I just thought that was interesting, right? That she like suddenly took interest in it. So maybe that was one, but yeah, I don't know.
There you go. No, you definitely have to keep me posted though if there's more. I always think it's just such an interesting thing when it comes to kids. It's I don't
Hmm.
know. I just believe that they see things and they hear things, and I do think our loved ones do want a relationship with them, right? And they want to talk to them and know that they're there. So I think that's really cool. You
Yeah.
mentioned with Get Griefy that or even like I would say maybe even before you launched it, but like you said you connected a lot on the internet with the grief community. How does that look like, right? Like as far as finding comfort, right? Were there people that you've met in your similar situation? Like was there like a support group? You know what I mean? Was it like an online support group, Facebook? Where did that come from?
To be honest, I feel like the algorithm just started algorithming, and it realized that I was like looking for grief stuff. And so all of these accounts started to pop up. And from there, like the people that I saw myself in that kind of were a little bit more humorous, like had the dark humor, all of that kind of stuff, I was like drawn to them. And it's just crazy because since then, we all like work together now. They contribute to the magazine now. There was a trip last January where we were all involved with like a billboard in Times Square, and we all had dinner together, and it was just like so fun. It felt like we had known each other forever. So I feel like when you find the right people that understand your pain and understand the things that still bring you joy, it's like almost an instantaneous like sisterhood or brotherhood where you're just like, these people get it, right? And so there's no like bullshit. It's just, it's real. It's authentic. So that's the cool thing about it.
What do you feel like has been the most relatable part when it comes to like finding your people, right? People who have experienced the same thing as you, and you're able to like find comfort and talk to these people, or really just like even like consume each other's content, right? Of being like dark humor, but I get it, right? Because like I'm a dark humor kind of girl too. So like to me, like that's sort of like in a way my coping, but also like in a way like I relate. I relate a lot. When
Yeah.
somebody can make like a funny situation out of something that truly isn't that funny, right? But like in the moment, I'm like, okay, I've been through it, so I hear you. What do you feel like is the is one of the most common like things that you feel like you guys relate on, if you were to be honest, right? Like what would that be?
I would say it's honestly like we all have similar goals. We
Mm.
all are striving for happiness and joy. And there was like a thought I had the other day. I think people assume that we're trying to find the silver lining when it comes to grief. And it's like, no, it's not a silver lining, because that like implies that it's like raining outside and it's just like falling from the sky, like from the clouds. And it's like, hell no, like we've been in the cave in the dark, like mining for some silver for a while now. And so now that we've found it, we're going to show it off. And I think that that is it's something that we all have in common, and we all support each other doing that, because it's so important and it's so powerful to see people who have truly lived through some of the worst moments of their life, and they're still coming out on top. And that doesn't mean that they're never having bad days and like we don't like trauma dump on each other on like voice notes. Like, no, that still happens. Right. Yeah. But when the wins are there, like the clapping is 10 times louder, because we know what it feels like to experience some of the lows. So I think like just sharing our wins together has been, for me, the most fulfilling piece of this entire puzzle.
I love that you guys share those. I mean, that's so important, you know, especially, well, today's there's a lot going on in the world, but I think that is so incredible. I love that you're able to find your tribe in this like really, you know, just dark, difficult time. I think that's incredible. And what about as far as like grief and depression? Do you ever feel like those two start to kind of overlap each other? Like, is there a time where like maybe you wanted to seek medical attention or help, or do you feel like you can like spot that right away of when somebody should, if someone's listening?
For sure. I feel like in grief, much like depression, there are days that you like kind of rot, like you have those bed rot days. And with depression, with grief, that's both valid and it happens. However, you have to recognize that it's happening. And after a certain amount of time, you do have to seek the things that make you feel better. And at a certain point, continuing to do that forever isn't acceptable. And I know that that's a hard pill to swallow for some people, but the way that the world works, the way that life works is, like time keeps marching on. The world moves around us. And I think that is a really, really hard thing to grasp, especially when you're in the thick of it. And when you are in the thick of it, you don't want to hear that. You're like, just let me be, right? But totally. It's just one of those things that rot for a little bit. And then once you recognize that it's been a hot minute, like just do something small. It's like exercise. At first you run a mile, then you run, a half marathon, right? But you just have to work your way up to doing a little bit more each day. And I think the same goes for grief, and the same goes for depression. Like you have to kind of push through, and you do have to be willing to have that introspective moment and also seek help if that's something that you need, right? And that support.
Couldn't agree more. I could not agree more with that. And what about when it comes to like kids, right? And in particular, your kids, how does one talk to children about death, or whether they knew the person or they didn't, but like, how do you kind of talk to your kid about that?
I think using tools is probably like the most beneficial thing, whether that be books, movies, things that they might already be exposed to. You don't realize how many like movies from our childhood have like a death in it until you watch it back and you're like, my daughters were like, wait, like the mom died. And I'm like, oh, damn. Yeah, she did, And so I think that like when they experience those things in the moment and see it in the moment, that's like a really good, connecting point and a talking point to bring that up to them. And, sometimes they say that the euphemisms kind of make it confusing for kids. I think that's totally up to parents, like in their preference, right? Sometimes it's hard to say like, they're dead, right? A lot of times people are like, oh, they're sleeping, or, they passed away, and kids don't know what that means, right? And so it really just depends on the parent and what they feel like their kid can handle. Because I'm a thorough believer that language does matter. Yeah. And it's hard. It really is hard. It's not easy, but there's so many good books. There's so many good resources out there that can at least help, right? You don't have to do it by yourself. You don't have to like invent something or some story up on your own, right?
No, I mean, that's valid. I think that's actually great advice. And then what about I'm sure with, with getting griefy and I think with your expertise, you've probably seen different types of grief, right? And
Mhm.
there was one that I've read about actually recently, and I have it here, and it talks about because it is a form of grief, but it can be a form of grief, but it's about living losses, right? So I'm wondering what kind of advice you can give moms who are processing those, and for those who may not be familiar, and please also too like jump in if I'm not correct on this, but I think it's more of like the fertility struggles, NICU, which you've been a part of,
Mhm.
potentially estrangement, special needs diagnosis, right? So
Yeah.
talk to us what that means, living losses, and then how can moms sort of process those?
Yeah, so those are all like things that I feel like our society disenfranchises, and it makes it extra tricky because people just assume that because it's not as quote unquote severe as a loss or a death, that it's not as painful. And so I think that that's the part that's hard because people don't necessarily recognize that loss. When people die, like there's a whole like we have funerals, right? We have
Yeah.
celebrations of life. Like there's more to it. People bring over casseroles. But like if someone loses their job or they're fighting with a family member and they decide that they need to like take a break from them, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, right? And so I think the biggest thing when it comes to dealing with those types of losses or that type of grief is one, grounding yourself in the fact that like, yes, this is grief, like what it is that I'm experiencing and why I am so messed up about this right now is because I am grieving, right? And
Yeah.
so leaning into that and seeking out different types of advice experts. Stephanie Sarazen, she is probably one of the biggest leading voices in disenfranchised grief. She talked about how, her husband was having an affair on her for basically her entire marriage. And, all of the different rituals and things that she incorporated in her life to kind of cope with that loss and kind of get herself to a place where she could live fully again. And it is grief, right? And so I think just by naming it, it gives people power to tackle whatever it is they're going through. Because it's like that confusion phase. Like, why do I feel like this right now? Like, why do I feel so crummy? It's because you're grieving. That's why, And so just being able to like put a finger on it helps for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. That was very much a way better explanation than I had, because I'm like, I've seen that term, but I'm like, how would someone like describe that, right? Or like how can someone process through that? So I think that that's incredible. Now I got to talk about the what do I say, right? So what do I say part of grief, of death, I think is so difficult for so many people. I know a lot of people are running a ChatGPT these days. I hate it. Not for something like this. I'm like, we got to be more personal, guys. We got to be more personal. What do you find comfort in, right? When people contact you, and when you went through this with your mom, for example, like what did you find comforting when people message you, call you, text you, right? And sort of like, what is it that people, I hate to say what they should say, right? No one should say it. It should always come from the heart, but what did you find comforting?
For me, my favorite thing was because my mom was so well connected. She had so many friends and people from all walks of life, but getting messages from people that would send me like, oh, like I'm looking through my phone right now, just like thinking back of like old memories with your mom. And here's a picture. I don't know if you've seen it before. And it was like almost like an uncovered treasure. It was like, oh my God, I haven't seen this picture before. And just hearing how she affected them for me was probably one of the most comforting things. Like the reality is you're going to feel like crap for a very long time. And so I think people need to get out of the mindset that whatever you're going to say is going to make someone feel better. That's not, I think, necessarily the goal. The goal should be to make them feel less isolated and less alone in what it is that they're going through, and allowing them to feel like they have someone to sit with in their pain, I think is probably the number one thing, right?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. And I admit sometimes I struggle with like, what do I say? I don't want to say the wrong thing. But I also feel like I I don't also, I'm going to be honest, I hate when people do this when they almost make it about themselves too. And like, not like in that way. Cause I feel like, no, share stories about this loved one that has passed. Like I want to hear them. But I hate when people, I don't know, almost like one up you. I think that's happened to me before. I'm just like, how do you one up a death? Like you're fucking insane. Like you're crazy. But I'm trauma dumping now at this point. Yeah. I'm doing too much, but I definitely feel like always come from the heart, but you're right. Like, I think it's important to also like almost like remember this person, like remember like your mom, right? And like, your mom's amazing. So I think it's got to be a lot of comfort in that. So I do love it. And then what should people stop saying? Right now we're going to do the opposite. What should we stop saying? Right, even though we might be well intended, and again, kind of speaking from my perspective and my experience.
I think anything that aims to try to like bypass what it is that they're feeling. Like, oh, well, like anything with at least, right, that needs to go. Like, oh, at least they lived a long life, or at least you got to say goodbye. And it's like, no, like that's dumb. Leave me alone. Or I don't know, just I really also hate the idea of like, well, let me know what I can do to help. And it's like, I don't even know how to brush my teeth right now. Like I am traumatized and I'm struggling. So I like to think of this as like a multiple choice test, like give them options, right? Like option A, B, C, or D. Would you like me to come over and take out your garbage? Would you like me to drop off like a trauma treat later? You want some like cake or, ice cream? Do you want some company today? Or can I just like check in on you with a text message, right? Like give them a couple options of things and like let them pick, right?
Yeah.
But just like leaving it open-ended is the worst because that person's head is not on straight and they can't think about what they need right now. They don't know what they need. All they can think about is the fact that they're hurting. And so when you provide options, I think that really helps as well.
I love it. Provide options. What about the spike grief, right? Or the grief spikes, I'm sorry, that happen when it comes to like birthdays, holidays, all of that, right? Because it's yearly. Here we go again. How do you plan for them? Or how can somebody who's going through this plan for that?
Yeah, I feel like, your body totally keeps the score. And so all of a sudden you realize like, oh, like, why do I feel like this? And it's because like my mom's death anniversary, is in 2 days. Or even there's like secondary losses in the fact that like, my brother just got married a couple weeks ago. And like having that realization that my mom wasn't going to be there, it was like losing her all over again. And so I think recognizing and taking time for that you are going to be feeling rough is super important. And from there, you kind of have to rely on what's in your toolkit, on the things that help you process it. Something that I resonated with recently is that like our bodies are like over 90% water or something crazy like that. And when water is just sitting there stagnant, it gets like gross and like mildew starts to grow on it. And like, it gets nasty, right? And if you let your grief kind of just like sit in your body for a very long time, it's going to do that to you as well. So you need to let it flow through you. And by being creative, journaling, getting it out, like talking about it, you know, these are all things that it won't stay in your body and it won't rot you from the inside out. Right. And so those are things that you have to keep in mind and you have to be proactive about it. And you have to remember that when you're having those griefy moments that you can't let it stay stagnant. You can't let that stagnancy be there forever because it is going to affect you for sure.
100%. Oh, Kera, I really appreciate you being here today. And I really do appreciate you sharing your story. And you're helping so many moms. I really hope that you know that. A lot of people listening are really taking away a lot of great information because this is real. This is real shit. So I really do appreciate you. What is next for you and for Get Griefy for the rest of the year? And then, of course, 2026.
Dang, sky's the limit, man. So we are going to be coming out with a new issue in early 2026. The person that's going to be on the cover is amazing. I can't really reveal much more than that. So, but it's going to be a women's issue. I will say that. So it's going to be talking about all different types of issues that women face. that come with grief, whether that be menopause, miscarriage, infertility, divorce, like all of it. And yeah, so I'm really excited for that. There's a possibility that I will be going to a grief symposium in Toronto. And yeah, we're just like aiming to grow the magazine, generate more readers. And we do have a small business collective of it's much like the Mami Collective, but it's for griefy people that are, no one ever like grows up and they're like, oh, I want to be like a grief coach when I grow up, right? Like that's not a thing,
No.
right?
No.
So all of these people, they've experienced some loss and they're like, now what? I'm going to pivot and do something different with my life. And so I want to expand on the people that are involved in that, because the people who care for the grieving also need care too. So it's like a hybrid, right? Where we work together, we collaborate together, but we also are just there for each other, because it's like crazy how our group chat is like a mix of, hey, like check out this this workshop that, you know, I'm hosting, it's live for free, whatever. And then the next one, it's like, guys, like I just had a really griefy day, right? And so we're just there to support each other and help each other through whatever it is where our pain points are, whether that's grief related or business related. So that's been really fulfilling too. So I hope to grow that. And then something completely opposite, I'm doing a palate cleanser. I'm starting a magazine for military spouses who are entrepreneurs, because
that's awesome.
So many women in the military life, because they're uprooted every like, I don't know, 3-4 years, like their careers constantly get put on hold. And many of them are like, screw this. Like, I hate having to find a new job. I'm starting a business, but then they're not getting the attention they deserve. So that's a whole nother thing that's coming soon too. So I'm just like, I'm all about the magazines these days. I feel like they're an underutilized medium, and the big box magazines, they do a poor job of making just everyday people feel represented. And so that's what we're trying to do here, is like represent the things that actually matter. Right.
100%. I'm so proud of you. That's incredible. Oh, I can't wait to see you on your journey, because like you're killing it, girl. I don't know how you're doing all this, but you are. And I'm so proud of you. So where can we follow you on social and keep up with you?
Yeah. So all of the magazine is pretty consistent. It's at Get Griefy Magazine, getgriefymagazine.com. There is Get Griefy Magazine on LinkedIn, on Facebook, like it's all over. I do not have a TikTok. I probably should, but
I know,
it's just like
the same way.
Thing. It's like, oh,
another thing. I know.
Another thing. And I do have a personal page, Lemons to Legacies, and that's more dedicated to my personal journey, stuff about my mom, like all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Killing it, Kera. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for being you and for being part of Mami Collective. Like you are, I call you a P1 of the Mami Collective, because you're just like, you're a fucking rider, and I love you. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm so excited that we got to do this and we connected. And again, I'm proud of us. We did it.